Today's guest is Rita Kim. She's the CEO at Partners for Growth Advisory Services. So, Rita, thanks for coming on the show.
Oh, well, thank you for inviting me.
So, I've known you a few years. And when I think back, when I first met you, you were doing a lot of networking. You were heavily into finance. Walk me through Rita back then.
Yeah, I guess you and I had met when we were both volunteering or supporting the Canadian Manufacturers and Exporters Association. And here's this nice, quiet, calm guy running a team of folks. And like, who is this guy?
They were actually paying me.
Oh, they were actually, oh, see, the things that you learn, right?
It may seem, I was helping, but they nice enough to pay me for organizing that group. So
Got it. So back then, I was working, I think it was BDC, the Business Development Bank of Canada. And what my role was there was to support entrepreneurs as they start or grow their businesses, and when they were looking to get either financing or advisory services. And so my role would be to go in and learn a little bit more, help them understand some of the things that we were looking for, and see if there was a fit or a match to support them either now or perhaps a little bit later when they worked on their risk concerns that needed to be alleviated. And then shortly thereafter, I was pulled over to HSBC and then did the same kind of thing over there as well. So all of it in BC, in the Lower Mainland or Vancouver. And so that was kind of my role, to go out there and look for people that wanted to grow their businesses and get financing. And it might seem odd to entrepreneurs, but bankers are always looking for people to lend to, even though perhaps they don't always do it when you want and how much you want, but yeah.
I always got the sense that you were trying to make it work, though.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is that you don't want to. There are some no's right off the bat: illegal, immoral, all that kind of stuff. Those are easy. But then the rest of it is, some people may or may not be aware of some of the things that could be causing risk, potentially to themselves. And it's more of just helping with understanding and knowledge and such. So entrepreneurs are the folks that are the visionaries, right? The ones that are always looking forward. The bankers are not visionaries, let's be clear. The bankers are looking in the past and saying, historically, what have you done? And let me base everything I'm going to do for you going forward on mostly historical, some current, and some future.
Yeah.
So,
well, VDC kind of bridges that a little bit better. I get the sense. And so I know you were betting a bit more on the future than the past. How do you differentiate? Because I've always known you to be able to form long-term relationships and sort of surround yourself with good people. So how much of that was learned? How much of that was instinct?
well, the relationship side of it, I believe firmly that's just the key to life, period. Let's just be real. And that was something that was instilled in us when we were young. And so it's not about getting, it's always about giving. It's always about learning. It's always about sharing. So the more you listen, the more you learn, the more you are able to give or share. You just get so much from that. And I think that relationships are established when you start with that process. Some of my greatest relationships are from the volunteer work, because we all had like-minded and similar values. Um, and relationships are not easy; they're quite hard. You have to work at them. It is a big effort on that, but I've been blessed to have great people somehow around me, and both mentors, people like yourself, I just so you all know, I call Tats a mentor. He refuses to accept that half the time. And so, but I think that that's one of those things, and those people will always help you stay on the right path and keep you moving forward, even when you kind of go, what's the point some days, and just want to just slide off. So I think that that's one, the first and foremost, and the rest of the other pieces when it comes to supporting growth in entrepreneurs is a lot of learning. And so I think the learning has to come if you're going to support an entrepreneur. One of the biggest things is to be able to help empathize and understand. And you can't do that if you say, "Oh, I get it," but you've never gone through it. So every type of heartache, pretty much an entrepreneur has gone through. I think I've done it to myself several times over, and really, really, really well, which means bad. And so I think that because of that, I can probably empathize a little bit better. And I think that through those learnings build our character and who we are, because as you go through those process or times or transitions, you really get a sense of understanding who you are. And sometimes you don't like who you are. And then the next time or something else happens, you try to be a little bit better. But as you go through these trials and heartaches, then you can also turn and share and support others.
Yeah.
So
So a question just popped in my head when you were saying, hey, because you're in banking and you said empathy is important, not sympathy, but empathy. How did you approach sort of understanding entrepreneurship and risk? Because in banking, you're supposed to avoid risk.
well, it's not necessarily avoid risk, because if you're a lender, you actually have to take some losses. And if you're not prepared to take any, you're not very good at all whatsoever. But you've got to be able to understand the risk and then mitigate the risk, and in a way that would be, you know, somewhat beneficial for everyone. So you may not be right there. Actually, I don't think there's anyone I know that is perfect. So there's always risk involved. So it's about getting to that risk level that would be okay for everyone to, kind of say, we can handle this, and communicate and work on this together. So that's the first piece about risk, is first of all is understanding it. And a lot of people aren't even aware of some of the concerns of risk. So that builds out the education piece and understanding. And then the second part of it is saying, can you either, mitigate it, or build a strategy around it to help mitigate it, or just overcome it completely, because sometimes you can. A risk could be anything from HR, it could be the owner themselves, it could be dependency on certain clients, it could be dependency on suppliers, financial concerns. It's just a whole slew of them. But just going through the process and understanding would be step one.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned a lot of different things. And I know as a business owner, you dream up new things to worry about. But where's the line where you can stop worrying or you shut it down because you've done enough proactively to mitigate risk?
Yeah, I heard something. I read it somewhere the other day, just recently, and my doctor, of all people, about 25 years ago, had said something as well. And that was when I was pregnant for the first time. And people are going to say, "What are you talking about? We're talking about business." Well, as I said earlier, it's still all relatable to life. And I said I was worried, because you start worrying about the baby, or you can say your business, which is also somebody's baby, because you birth it, you build it, you grow it, and such. And so he said, "Well, what are you worried about?" "I'm worried about, the pregnancy. I'm worried about what I'm eating. I'm worried about, actually a lot about the birth, and what that's going to be like." And he's like, "Okay, I got it. I got it. So here, why don't we do this? Take your worries, first 5 minutes of the day, dump them all, just say them all out loud. And then you're done. You can revisit them at night if you want to, but you got to let it go, because you got to get on with the day." And then if you continue the worry process, you're not able to actually enjoy. what you're doing. So you started a business probably because you figured out a gap or a niche or a problem and you're able to solve it. And that's supposed to help people and help yourself too. But if you're just busy worrying, how are you going to enjoy that? How are you supposed to just take a moment and breathe and relax or have fun? I think that's very important to build out. Someone else had mentioned just the other day that thing that I was reading was the worry tree. So a guy was working, he's an entrepreneur. He went through so many headaches the whole day. And then, his client followed him into his house because he invited him for dinner. And then he stopped in front of his house. There was a tree. And he touched the tree and then he walked in. So the worry guy and the stressed out guy that was there with him all day disappeared. As he stepped into the house, he was full of joy and laughter and smiled and joked. And the client goes, "Well, what happened?" He goes, "Well, that's the worry tree. That's where you drop all the worries. And when you walk into your home, your wife or husband or children, they don't deserve any of that. They don't need any of that. They have enough of that. So let me give them the rest of me, the good part of me." So I thought that was really nice. It's really inspiring.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just trying to visualize as, the work at home stuff all blends together. How
Oh
do you
yeah.
how do you, the tree's not outside, maybe it's inside the house. Like, where do you put this tree?
Well, if you have an office, and some people, the whole house is the office, but some people have a dedicated space, put the worry tree right in the office. Let's put a picture up. And there you go.
Yeah. Don't get a cactus though, right?
No, don't get a cactus.
Can't touch that cactus.
Yeah, a picture is nice too. You can just touch the picture on the wall.
Okay, so we're talking about the proactive side. Okay, but you know this that when you were in banking or whatever you were doing, not everyone comes and wants to be proactive, right? So here you are, you get this call, and here's Rita the fixer, right? Tell me about Rita the fixer and how to be effective there.
Well, it goes back again to start that relationship with understanding and learning. It was always a lot of learning, taking the time. So you can't fix anything if you don't have any knowledge about it. And that kind of aggravates me to no end when I hear people go, "Well, I saw your numbers and here's all the issues that you've got. So fix it." Well, you didn't even bother to learn the story. You didn't bother to ask. So, step one is to understand, and only way to understand and get people to share what's happening with their business, because why would they? Why would they share? First of all, like, I mean, they don't trust these people. Yeah, they're bankers, for goodness sakes, right? But so you're always on this uphill battle because the last person may not have been the best. So you've got to build that relationship first. So I'd make sure I go out and say hi, face to face, seeing the eyes. That was very important. Looking at the operations, hearing and learning and meeting the staff was huge. Understanding on the floor, on the ground, what happened in a typical day. And then, of course, you have to have some pretty strong knowledge of understanding financials. And, I've got it down to an art and a science. I can pretty much read what happened to you. It's like kind of reading your skeleton, and you kind of say, "Well, oh, over here is when you fell off the bike. Over here is when you bruised your knee. Over here is when, oh boy, that was a bad break. You were out of commission for a few months," right? And over the years, it's all explained and shown in your financials. So I have a pretty good understanding of seeing what has happened. And then you match the story to the numbers. So when you start establishing the relationship, understanding, seeing things in action, matching the story to the numbers, that's how you can, and then saying, what are your end goals? Where are you going? What's the purpose? And a lot of people haven't had that question asked to them either. It's like, where are you going? What are you trying to get to or achieve? And then you kind of go, okay, I see now. Here's what happened. Here's where you're at, and here's where you want to go. So now all these things that you did that may not have made sense in the numbers actually now do make sense. So, for example, if you look at, the numbers on your financial statements and see a bunch of expense, but not the matching revenue, you're like, what happened? Well, I had to buy the equipment, hire the people first, but those are expenses and they don't actually convert to proper revenue or balancing out the expense until a little bit later. But I knew that we were going to get these new contracts or this new work. So we had to ramp up for growth over here. And then I can move over here. So that's why your numbers didn't look okay. So how are we doing with that process? How are we doing with that okay, so here's some risk that I see. Here's some concerns that let's talk about them. Let's strategize about them. And then let's move you over to how we can help you get what you need. Um, the other part of it is some people think they need it all at once, like a huge dump of funds. It's typically never that way. So usually we find money within the company. Usually you need tranches of funds. And then as you get your tranches, it gets you to the next, to the next, to the next. So I guess that's perhaps what you're trying to say as how do you fix things? You never really fix anything. But I think it's more helping and understanding and helping with that growth process. But nothing's ever fixed.
You're just trying to enjoy the challenges,
Yeah.
Ben. More.
Yeah. Yeah. Try not to have so much pain as you go through the challenges, right? Because there's a lot of pain sometimes.
I guess so. Finance is pain management, I guess.
Oh gosh, yeah. That's a good one. Yeah, let's do that.
All right. So you have a podcast, which I had the pleasure of experiencing. It's
Yeah.
in my eyes very unique because I showed up, there was all this onboarding, and there was it 4 or 5 hosts, and I had no idea what was going to happen. I guess if it was a TV show, like a daytime TV show, it makes sense, but I didn't understand. But it was just flawless. So
Oh,
walk
thank
me
you.
through how that came to be and how that fits in with Rita now.
Yeah, sure. So early 2020, you all will remember where you were at probably around March or April of 2020. So before all the massive chaos happened and things were just starting to happen with the pandemic, we had an opportunity to meet up at a friend's house. And at that point, I think we'd already been 2 months in or something, and we hadn't seen each other physically. And that was really weird because that's just not the way we do business. We're always able to go see and say hi, and the faces, the eyes, that's really important. So we went to Peggy's house and we had the opportunity to sit down. So myself and the partners that we have on the podcast, and one of our partners was going through a really rough patch, and she had this big HR concern, and she was about to let go of the whole company. And of course, she's sitting with a bunch of business folks, and we're all women. It just happened to be. We're all type A. We're very strong minded, and all of our jobs, if you let's go back to your words, fixers. So that was our job, but we were in various facets of the industry, so one in grants and finance, accounting, tax. So that was kind of our backgrounds, and this is stuff we deal with. So we just surrounded her and just got down to the bare bones. Here's the issue. It's not what you're actually talking about. It's this. And the issue was she wasn't happy doing all the stuff. So what do you love doing in the business? Well, I love this. Well, that's it. We're focusing on this. This guy gets this piece. And these are the steps we're going to take to actually move these things forward. And, Bob's your uncle. We're done. And, a lot of wine that day. We had some cider that day and some amazing food. But at that moment, we all realized that we all need that support. And then how do you get that support, and how do you pay for all that support? How do you find the right people to go through that process? So that's where Serenity Now for entrepreneurs was born. So it's a bit tongue in cheek, obviously. Many entrepreneurs don't find serenity, but we thought, let's bring all of our expertise to the table and say, hey, let's, 3 pillars. One, let's be able to share knowledge and understanding. And akin to, like you were talking about, a TV show, just think of, I hate using the analogy of The View,
I didn't say
but
it.
for
I thought it. I didn't say it. You said it.
but yeah, a bunch of people, but in this case it's very different. We're experts in our own industries, and somebody coming on the show and saying, let's have a talk about perhaps this particular issue or concern in business, and then getting resources. So we also built out resources for people to be able to get access to, because during the pandemic, you weren't able to go visit, you weren't able to see anyone, so you might have lost access to some resources. And then, so, one was the resources, one where we talk about a viewpoint, and the third was actually bringing an entrepreneur on to say, here's my problem on the spot, figure it out with me, all you people in finance, in tax, in legal, in marketing, in grants. So you people help me for free and just help me grow. And it's a give back project. It's one of those legacy kind of places or points in life where you say, this is all of who I am and all of what I want to be able to share and give back, my knowledge and understanding, but also these other people that have the same values and, systems and thoughts as I do. So we all wanted a place to give back. And we felt it was really needed, especially during that time. And so that's just a little bit about Serenity Now for entrepreneurs.
And how did that relate to a change in how you operate with, where you live now and how you're moving forward with all that?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, Tat. So how does it relate to everything? One, I don't like going on podcasts or doing podcasts. And so there you go, I'll just say it. Um, so that was a big comfort zone issue. As someone in finance, and basically my business is the business of risk. You don't go on these things because you could say something that could come back to bite you, and then that causes risk. So how do you mitigate all that? You can't. So I'm also an introvert, and that was tough trying to do that. So it pulled me out of several comfort zones. Um, but it also helped me realize the impact and understanding of what I've been doing with my clients, put them on the spot and say, let's talk, let's go through this process. And also during the pandemic, you realize life is short. And what are we actually doing? And, you know, is this really where I want to be? And sometimes you have this idea of like, I'll do it later, or it's supposed to happen, after I retire. And it propelled probably the idea of the understanding of just taking some time out for ourselves and taking kind of, stock, what's going on and who are we? Um, we have, a huge family in BC, and that's where we lived at the time. And all of a sudden, we did a road trip to Alberta in September of 21. And that 4-day road trip was life-changing because we went and sat with an old friend from high school at their farm, and for 6 hours, just enjoying the farm and food and talk and understanding. And we just thought, how do people live like this? Don't you get up at 4 a.m. and work till midnight? Isn't that normal? How is this possible to actually sit and visit? And yes, they work hard. They've got about 150 animals on the farm. They grow crops, but yet they still had time to do this. And the sky, oh Tats, the sky was majestic. The blue sky touched the ground, and we were like, we just don't even get out enough to enjoy any of this. So we started looking at properties. Next thing we know, we put an offer in, drove back within 4 days, and put our place up for sale. Within under 60 days, we upped and moved to Alberta, and now we're sitting on a large acreage, learning how to garden / farm. We have chickens, and but we call our new place the Sanctuary. And I've probably never been more productive in my life, never worked so hard in my life, never went outside so much in my life. I'm building these things called muscles, perhaps, in places I never had.
You used
So
to wake up at 4 or 5 in the morning to work out every day, so I don't know.
yeah,
You
yeah,
have
that's
muscles.
yeah, but still, it's a different kind. It's a different thing. So it's closer
Farming
to the
muscles.
life. Yeah, and it's closer to the life that we actually wanted and never thought would be possible, or never thought we could. And here we are. So I think it propelled it a little bit more. Serenity Now has helped us understand ourselves a little bit more. And then I've got great partners I get to chat with regularly as well. So
Wonderful.
yeah.
Great story. Is there anything that I did not cover that you wanted to chat about further?
Well, I think the only thing would be is if you're running a business, some people do it, there's various reasons, but if you're not passionate about it, or if you've lost your passion, perhaps because you're in the thick of things or in quagmire or whatever this is. It's really, really important to take a moment. One, not to just reach out to someone and say, hi, help me. No, 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 no. The first thing you want to do is take a moment for yourself. And what I always recommend is go to a safe place, whether it's your closet, because that's the only place you can get away from people. It's down by the river, or somewhere where you just take 2 hours for yourself. You can have one glass of wine or one drink, but no more. In the first hour, and take a book and a paper, a pen. I know it's going to be odd because you don't usually use those. I use them every day, but you go there and talk about to yourself, what is it that I want? What are my end goals? Because sometimes we haven't given ourselves that opportunity to do that. And the first hour, you're probably going to just, sit there and stare and just breathe in wherever you're at and maybe have that drink, whatever that is. But the second hour, you're going to start writing. And then all these ideas are going to start happening. And it's going to be, just a ton of blue sky ideas. Don't let anything hold you back. That book or paper is yours. No one's going to see it. Just write it all out. And then put it away for a day and then come back. And then you see, the cream of the crop that's going to come to the top. This is actually what I want to do. Then you go forward and say, how do I find the people that will help me get here? And then you go forward from there. But I think what's most important is taking that moment for yourself before you go talk. Someone else is going to have their own ideas of what success looks like, right? Or what's important. So some people would think about my idea of semi-retirement, of going to a bit acreage and learning how to farm and figure out chickens and other animals, crazy. And that's not success. That's nuts. But to us, it's right and it fits. So now we seek out advisors and support that can help us do what we want to do and enjoy it better. So I think that's about it. And risk doesn't have to be scary, but don't forget to assess it. Don't forget to review it and look at it on a monthly basis. And the bankers, if you find a good one, they're not that scary. They actually can be pretty good advisors.
Well
That's
said.
about it.
Well said. The real risk is not finding what you really want.
Yes. Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, thanks, Rita.
Thanks, Tats.